तव कथामृतम् तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितम् कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः।
ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः. We are studying the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna and we are reading the conversation which has taken place most probably on 24th December or nearabouts in 1882, because the Christmas is mentioned there, so we know that it is during that time. And in the English book, it has been taken before the conversations of 14th December, and as we are following the English book, we are reading there. And I told that in the Bengali book, it starts at the bottom of page 125 of the Akhanda edition. And we have read certain lines. We may go back there. And we have discussed at length yesterday a special feature of Sri Ramakrishna's teaching, that he says that when a man realizes that he does not do anything, he is not the doer at all, it is God who does everything, and that refers to the Saguna Brahma. And we discussed that Shankaracharya calls it Krama Mukti, and Thakur's think that it is as good as Mukti. Because if a man has absolutely no worry of what he will eat, how he will eat, where he will live, where he will go, he does not require to know, because he is free in the mind. And so that is easily Mukti. And Thakur himself tells in the end that he shows the example that nobody can even die without the will of the mother. So long as we have a body, certainly we are under the will of mother. Therefore I say, O mother, I am the machine and thou art the operator. I am the chariot and thou art the driver. I move as thou movest me. I do as thou makest me do. Then we find that the devotees sang kirtan in the master's room. And as per our habit, I will read it in Bengali and then come back to English. Hridhi Vrindavane Vas Yadi Karo Kamalapati Ohe Bhakti Priya Amar Bhakti Hobe Radha Sati Mukti Kamana Amari Hobe Vrinde Gopanari Deha Hobe Nander Puri Sneha Hobe Ma Yashomati Amar Dharo Dharo Janardhan Papa Bhar Govardhan Kamadi Hoy Konse Chore Dhonsa Karo Samprati Rajaye Krupa Bashari Bajaye Krupa Bashari मन धेनु के वश करी तिष्ठ हृदय गोष्ठे पुराव इष्ट ए मिनती अमार प्रेम रूप यमुना कुले आशा वंशी वटमूले स्वदास भेवे हृदय सदय भावे सतत करो बसती यदि बोलो राखाल प्रेमे बंदी थाकी व्रजधामे तबे ज्ञानहीन राखाल तुम्हार दास होवे हे दाशरथी. Dasarathi is the name of the poet, and he has completely made a allegory of Krishna's life in Vrindavan with spiritual life of a sadhak. And let us see what he says. Dwell, O Lord, O lover of bhakti, in the Vrindavan of my heart. So, Krishna lived in Vrindavan for a long time. So, O Lord of my heart is Vrindavan. So, you stay there, please. And my devotion unto thee will be thy Radha, dearly loved. So, Radha was the main lover of Krishna. All the gopis loved him. Krishna, in his turn, loved all the gopis, but specially loved Radha, and he loved all the people of Vrindavan. So, devotion unto thee will be Radha. My body will be Nanda's home. Nanda was Sri Krishna's foster father. When Sri Krishna was born in Mathura, his parents were jailed there by his maternal uncle Kamsa because there was a Akashavani, a sound through the skies that the eighth son of Devaki will be, his sister, will be your killer. Because of that, he put Vasudev and Devaki, husband and wife. Devaki was Kamsa's sister, in the jail. And whatever offspring came out, he used to go and kill that. Though he was told the eighth will kill you. But how to count? So for remaining safe, he used to kill everyone. Now, the seventh one was through some processes known in those days, from the womb of Devaki, Vasudeva had another wife. And there he had transplanted that fetus in the womb. And that wife lived in Nanda's house. Nanda was the head cow herdsman living in Gokul, and he was Vasudeva's friend. So the seventh issue was transplanted in another wife who was in Nanda's house. And when this eighth was born, mysteriously he got the message to deposit him in Nanda's house. So the chains were broken, the guards slept in the midnight, and it was heavily raining, and Vasudeva carried child Krishna in a basket through the river, and he walked, and though the water was rising, but everything becomes favorable, and when he goes to Nanda's house, his wife Yashoda had given birth to a girl, and she was fast asleep. She did not know. And then he placed Krishna in the place and carried the girl with him back to the jail at Vrindavan. And when Kamsa came to know that the eighth is a girl, he thought he may appear like a girl. So he took that girl in hand and dashed her against a stone. But the girl slipped, rose above, and showed herself as the goddess. And she told Nanda, Kamsa, that your enemy is still living. and disappeared. So Krishna grew in Gokul. Later on, all of them shifted to Vrindavan, and there his foster father was Nanda and mother Yashoda. So here he compares, my body will be Nanda's home. My body is like Nanda's home, and there in the heart is Vrindavan. You live there. My tenderness will be Yashoda, because Yashoda, the foster mother, cared for Krishna as her own son very, very tenderly. So he says, my tenderness will be Yashoda. My longing for deliverance will be thy gentle gopi maids. So all the gopis loved him. He loved all the gopis. So the Dasharati poet is comparing that my longing for deliverance are like all the gopis, plural. Longing is one, but because it flows in multi dimensions, it is like all the gopis who are loved by you. Lift the Govardhan of my sin. There was a big incident that Govardhan is the hillock in Vrindavan. And Krishna told they used to worship Indra, the god of rains, every year, thanking him to give rains. Krishna told that we grow all our food and cows grazing because of the grace of this hillock, Vrindavan. So we shall stop Indra's worship and worship Govardhan. So he taught nature worship instead of unknown gods worship. Now Indra became angry and he sent such, Indra is the god of rains. So he sent such rains that whole thing will be deluged and there were nowhere place to stay. So Krishna lifted the hill of Govardhan on his finger, and below that everybody stayed like a big umbrella. And so Indra was defeated. He begged pardon from Krishna, and there this Govardhan has been compared to my sin, because Krishna has to lift all the sin and remove it. So here, lifting Govardhan, heavy thing on one finger, has been compared to the heavy load of sin. And you please take it on your hand and slay my 6 unyielding passions. So, lust, anger, greed, delusion, self-conceit, and jealousy are the 6 ingrained enemies living in man. 6. So they are not yielding normally, but God can kill them. So Krishna, please slay my 6 unyielding passions, fierce as the demons sent by Kamsa. So Kamsa used to send demon after demon to kill all the children in Vrindavan. But by God's grace, Krishna escaped and he killed all those demons one by one. And so these 6 enemies are like the demons sent by Kamsa. Sweetly play the flute of thy grace. And Krishna was famous for his flute playing. And all the birds and animals and men and women and children were enchanted by that flute. So he says, sweetly play the flute of thy grace, charming the milk cow of my mind. So the milk cow which gives milk, also used to feel charmed and stood steadily listening to the flute. So here the author says, calming, charming the mind, milk cow of my mind, abide in the pastures of my soul. So pastures are where the cows are grazing. and Krishna is always with them. So please live in the pastures of my soul. Hriday Goshti, actually, soul here means heart. Dwell by the Yamuna of my yearning. Yamuna is the river flowing there in Vrindavan, Mathura, Gokul, all those places. So, dwell by the Yamuna of my yearning. So, my yearning be like Yamuna, and you should always be near that. Under the banyan of my hope. And there was a big banyan tree where Krishna liked to sport. So, that is like my hope. Forever gracious to thy servant. And if not, but the coward's love can hold thee in Vrindavan's vale. Vale means valley. What holds Krishna there? The cowherd's love. Not only gopis, but all the men, women, and children, and old and young people of Vrindavan. Their love was holding Shri Krishna there. If they cannot hold, then Lord, let Dasharathi too become thy cowherd and thy slave. So the poet puts his name that I will become a cowherd. I will become your slave. Please stay for my sake at least. So a beautiful song the devotees sang, and then again they sang. The second song in Bengali is not completely given here, but in English, luckily, it is given in full. In Bengali, Amar Pran Pinjarer Paki Gaona Re, Brahma Kalpataru Mule, Bosere Paki, Vibhu Guna Gao, Deki Gao Gao, Ar Dharma Artha Kama Moksha, Supakva Phala Pavana Re, sing, O bird, that nestles deep within my heart. With the bird nestles in my heart, my soul, my self. Sing, O bird that sits on the kalpa tree of Brahman. There is a wish fulfilling tree called the kalpa vruksha, and whatever one desires, under that tree it comes up. So, if you are in my heart, then the bird of my soul sits on that kalpataru. Sing God's everlasting praise. Taste, O mind, of the four fruits of the kalpa tree. The four achievable targets of human life are dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Dharma means virtue, virtuous life. Artha means money. Kama means enjoyment. So, if with a firm religious attitude one lives enjoying money and pleasure, then the evolution takes place and one starts craving for liberation or freedom. That is the ultimate goal of human life. So, four fruits of the kalpa tree, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Sing, O bird, he alone is the comfort of my soul. Sing, O bird, he alone is my life's enduring joy. O thou wondrous bird of my life, sing aloud in my heart, unceasingly sing, O bird, sing forevermore, even as the thirsty chatak sings for the raindrop from the cloud. This another supposition that there is a bird called chatak. He does not drink the flowing or steady waters. He drinks only when in a particular configuration of the stars, the water falls, then only takes it directly in his beak. So that is so. Thirsty Chatak sings for the raindrop from the cloud. So he sings, appealing for that raindrop to come. That is the allegory. And here, These were the songs they sang. Now in English, certain names are missing. We will supply that from the Bengali book. The English says, a devotee from Nandan Bagan entered the room with his friends. The name given there is Sri Nath Mishra from Nandan Bagan. Came with his friends. The master looked at him and said, everything inside him can be seen through his eyes, as one sees the objects in a room through a glass door. So that is what Thakur used to see for everybody, but he mentions it here because of his purity inside. This devotee and his brother's name is given as Yajnanath, Srinath and Yajnanath and others. Always celebrated the anniversary of the Brahma Samaj at their house in Nandan Bagan, outside Calcutta, or a locality in Calcutta. Sri Ramakrishna had taken part in this festival, not before. After this event, in future, Sri Ramakrishna had gone to that festival which they used to celebrate. The evening worship began in the temples. In all the temples, Kali temple, Radhakanta temple, Shiva temple, the evening Arati, as we call it, Vesper service began. Master Mashai and M were in Master's room only. Only the music was coming. The master was seated on the small couch in his room, absorbed in meditation. He went into an ecstatic mood and said a little later, Mother, please draw him to thee. He is so modest and humble. He has been visiting thee. It is about whom we were informed earlier that Babu Ram, Ramdel Babu, and Master Mashe were there. So, Master Mashe thinks, was the master referring to Babu Ram, who later became one of his famous disciples named Swami Premanand. So he is telling his inner being called the mother, attract him. He is visiting you. That means he is visiting Sri Ramakrishna. The master explained the different kinds of samadhi to the devotees. In English, names are given. Jada Samadhi, Chetan Samadhi, Sthita Samadhi, Unmana Samadhi, etc. So because the English does not give the explanation, we can skip there. We can only know that Samadhi is of various types, complete absorption in God, but different attitudes. So there are different types. The conversation then turned to the joy and suffering of life. Why did God create so much suffering? So M here is telling that once Vidyasagar said to a mood of pique, that means he is hurt because of God's behavior. What is the use of calling on God? Just think of this incident. At one time, Genghis Khan, a terrorist king, plundered a country and imprisoned many people. The number of prisoners rose to about 100,000, 1 lakh as we call it. The commander of his army said to him, Your Majesty, who will feed them? It is risky to keep them with us. It will be equally dangerous to release them. What shall I do? Genghis Khan said, That's true. What can be done? Well, have them killed. The order was accordingly given to cut them to pieces. Now, God saw this slaughter, didn't he? Because he sees everything. But he didn't stop it in any way. Therefore, I don't need God. Whether he exists or not, I don't derive any good from him. Now here, creation, preservation and destruction is all God's work. He creates from himself appearance of so many people. And so, what harm is there if he devours them or if he dissolves them, if he causes pralaya, the total universal destruction? It is all his play only. Once some devotee asked Sri Ramakrishna in this context that you are telling is God's play, but we suffer. Sri Ramakrishna said, who are you, tell me? If it is all God's play, we should understand this point. If it is all God's play, we are a part of that play. We don't have separate existence. So there lies the main mistake. There lies the wrong knowledge or maya that I am a separate existence than God. Then we hold God responsible for the. Let me quote a parallel example. Happened recently. A nun of the Sarada Math, young nun, she suddenly saw in meditation the Jayarambati ashram of the Ramakrishna Mission, mother's birthplace. It's a huge ashram. And she saw in the different compounds in that ashram, different beneficial activities are going on. Distribution of studies to the poor, distribution of such and such food items to another set of poor, like that. Many activities. And in one of the compounds, fight, terror, killing was going on. And then she saw that mother appeared before her. And mother said, all this is mine. So, whether past, present or future, mother is responsible for destruction as well as creation and preservation. So that is the point which Sri Ramakrishna will stress now. That Genghis Khan killed all the people. God saw and did not object. I don't want God. So you want God only to physically protect you, not for love of God, not for getting free from Maya. That is what the ordinary man's thinking shows to him. And Thakur, the wise man, the all-knower, the incarnation, points out defect of this very process of thinking. So, Master, is it possible to understand God's action and his motive? Why he did so? Can we understand? We are individuals consisted in the appearance of God. So his cosmic vision may be very different. Motive we cannot understand. He creates, he preserves and he destroys. Can we ever understand why he destroys? In outside, in other religions, Semitic religions especially, in most of the religions other than Hinduism, God creates and preserves, and for destruction they theorize some devil. So as if devil is more powerful, created by God, and God wants to protect, and the devil destroys. In Hinduism, this is not the concept. World is unreal. World is at the best play of God. And in this, God creates, preserves, and destroys. That is the very function. That is the very play of God. And so, Thakur is telling, he preserves, he destroys. Can we even understand why he destroys? So if we can understand why God destroys, then we may think that this is one of the ways when God is destroying, through that Genghis Khan. I say to the Divine Mother, oh Mother, I do not need to understand. Please give me love for thy lotus feet. So what shall I do? By understanding some cosmological facts? Nothing. The love of God is essential. That will change us. The aim of human life is to attain bhakti again and then realize God. As for other things, the mother knows best. So whether it is killing, whether I should live or not, all those things I do not know. As a individual unit, I can never know the purposes happening in the cosmic world. I have come to the garden to eat mangoes. Garden, God's creation. Eating mangoes, loving God. What is the use of my calculating the number of trees, branches, and leaves? I only eat the mangoes. I don't need to know the number of trees and leaves. So, what is happening? The details in the cosmology we don't need. Baburam, M, and Ramdayal slept that night on the floor of the master's room. It was an early hour of the morning, so if this was 24th December or some date, now the next date, 25th December, or the next date of that. It was an early hour of the morning, about 2 or 3 o'clock, early morning, huh? The room was dark. Sri Ramakrishna was seated on his bed and now and then conversed with the devotees. So for him, night and day have no meaning. Master, remember that day's compassion and Maya attachment. Oh, not that day. Huh? Remember that Daya, compassion, and Maya, attachment, are two different things. Why is telling that? Because they appear similar. Similar is never same. Attachment means that Daya, feeling of myness towards one's relatives. They are mine, others are not mine. If you know that they are gods, then all others are also gods. If you think they are mine, then others are not mine. And this calling them mine is called Maya. Calling all to love all is Daya. It is a love one feels for one's parents, one's brother, one's sister, one's wife and children. Compassion is the love one feels for all beings of the world. It is an attitude of equality. If you see everywhere an instance of compassion, as in Vidyasagar, so what Vidyasagar was doing was right, what he was thinking was wrong. Know that it is due to the grace of God. How can he will that he wants to help everybody? Through compassion, one serves all beings. Maya also comes from God. Through Maya, God makes one serve one's relatives. But one thing should be remembered, Maya keeps us in ignorance and entangles us in the world. Whereas with Daya, makes our hearts pure and gradually unties our bonds. So the difference between Daya and Maya to feel love, compassion, etc. for one's relatives through body is Maya. And to love all beings as they come from God is Daya. Through Maya, God makes one serve one's relatives. But one thing should be remembered, Maya keeps us in ignorance and entangles us in the world. Whereas Daya makes our hearts pure and gradually unties our bonds. You remember at some place Thakura said, not Daya but Shiv Jnanajiv Seva, but here he first establishes Daya in comparison with Maya. whole world is God's, and from there, if some sympathy or soft-heartedness comes, it is there. And because he is mine, so I feel for him. That is Maya. God cannot be realized without purity of heart, repeatedly. Negatively put, one receives the grace of God by subduing the passions, lust, anger, and greed. In the in Gita 16th chapter, at the end, Kama Krodam Lobham Dwaram Narakasya Etatrayam Teje. So the substance of Asuri Sampatti has been summed up in Kam, Krodha, and Lobh, lust, anger, and greed. Then one sees God. I tried many things in order to conquer lust. So you can try any method to conquer lust. When I was 10 or 11 years old and lived at Kamarpukur, কোথায় এটা? আচ্ছা, next, okay. তোমাদের এতে গইয়া কথা বলছি, I am telling you a top secret, that কাম জয় করবার জন্য আমি অনেক কাণ্ড করেছিলাম. I did everything to conquer lust. One of them is telling, Ananda Asan. Ananda Asan is some position in the Tantra sadhana. চারিদিকে জয় কালী বলে অনেকবার প্রদক্ষিণ করেছিলাম. Circumambulated that event of Ananda San, shouting Jai Kali, Jai Kali. আমার 10-11 বছর বয়সে যখন ও দেশে ছিলাম, সেই সময় ওই অবস্থাটি সমাধি অবস্থা হয়েছিল. মাঠ দিয়ে যেতে যেতে যা দর্শন করলাম তাতে বিভোর হয়েছিলাম. So some samadhi is referring to when he was 10 or 11 years old. We know he was going to the Vishalakshi temple, and on the way he had got samadhi. So that he is referring to. As I was passing through a paddy field, মাঠ দিয়ে যেতে যেতে, we don't know whether it was paddy field, it may be the grazing land. I saw something and was overwhelmed. There are certain characteristics of God vision. So if you have seen God, your life, your body, your mind will totally change. One sees light, feels joy, and experiences the upsurge of a great current in one's chest, like the bursting of a rocket. So when God is seen like a bursting of a rocket, the knots of the heart are cut asunder. The next day, Baburam and Ramdayal returned to Calcutta. So next, where we are. No, first day they are there. Oh. And in the afternoon this happened, then evening, and then night, then early morning, and then evening, and then next day. Baburam Ramdayal returned to Calcutta. M spent the day and the night with the master. So if I started from 24th, it should be 25th and 26th now. Yes. Afternoon, next day, next day early morning, then next day of that. Okay. So after 2 days, it was afternoon. The master was sitting in his room at Dakshineshwar with M and one or two other devotees. Several Marwadi devotees arrived and saluted the master. Marwadi is a generic name. People living in Rajasthan. There is a town or a district or a locality within Rajasthan called Marwad. And these Marwadis are generally business people. And they have spread throughout India. Now, irrespective of where they come from Rajasthan, they are called Marwadis. They are not from Marwad proper, but they are called Marwadis if they come from Rajasthan. And they are everywhere. So they are in Calcutta also. And amongst them, there are devotees. And they, whenever they come to Dakshineshwar, they visit the master. So, several Marwadi devotees arrived and saluted the master. They requested Sri Ramakrishna to give them spiritual instruction. He smiled, master, to the Marwadi devotees. You see, the feeling of I and mine is the result of ignorance. But to say, oh God, thou art the doer, all this belong to thee, is the sign of knowledge. So he has come back to that. I am karta bhokta. I am doer, I am enjoyer. So when I am not the doer, you are the doer, you are the enjoyer also. All this belong to thee is the sign of knowledge, me and mine. So nothing of me, nothing of mine, all is yours. So it is not only the work, but all is yours. This is the sign of knowledge. How can you say such a thing as mine? The superintendent of the garden says, this is my garden. But if he is dismissed because of some misconduct, then he does not have the courage to take away even such a worthless thing as his mango wood box. That also he cannot take. So we have to leave everything here and die. How we can say me and mine? Anger and lust cannot be destroyed normally. Turn them towards God. A wonderful method. Lust, anger, turn towards God. Have lust for God, that is a good sadhana. Have anger for anything which opposes your desire for God, that is a sadhana. If you must feel desire and temptation, then desire to realize God. Feel tempted by Him, discriminate and turn the passions away from worldly objects. Because unreal things, why should I have passions about them? When the elephant is about to devour a plantain tree in someone's garden, the mahout strikes it with his iron-tipped goad, and the elephant has to stop. So use your thinking, rational thinking, discrimination, what is real and what is unreal, and check your mind having passions about the objects of the world and turn them all towards God. Life will be fulfilled. You are merchants. You know how to improve your business gradually. Some of you start with a castor oil factory. So he knows the methods of the businessman and is teaching them in their language, which they can easily absorb. After making some money at that, you open a cloth shop. In the same way, you make progress towards God. It may be that you go into solitude now and then and devote more time to prayer. So when you get devotion, when your power grows, you take the higher form of devotion. That is what Thakur is telling the shopkeeper. Start from a little, it will grow, then make it grow and grow. But you must remember that nothing can be achieved except in its proper time, but it takes time. Time means sequence. If you are doing something, it will produce its result. If you are doing nothing, nothing can come out. But if you are doing something, there is a process, and so it was called time. Some persons must some persons must pass through many experiences and perform many worldly duties before they can turn their attention to God. So they have to wait a long time. So time also not same for all people. According to their endeavors, according to their attractions, they take more time. Some person must pass through many experiences and perform many worldly duties before they can turn their attention to God. So they have to wait a long time. Now another example. If an abscess is launched before it is soft, the result is not good. The surgeon makes the opening when it is soft and has come to a head. Wound is there, it is not dissected, but it makes soft and then clean. So that once a child said to another example, it takes time, means there is a process. Once a child said to its mother, Mother, I am going to sleep now. Please wake me up when I feel the call of nature. Small child. My child, said the mother, when it is time for that, you will wake up yourself. I don't have to wake you. So, in the life of man, a point comes waking up. And that waking up means turning the mind towards God. That nobody can force it. Of course, the Mahapurushas can bring out the old sanskara, but it takes time. The Marwadi devotees generally brought offerings of fruit, candy, and other sweets for the master, but Sri Ramakrishna could hardly eat them. Why? He would say they earn their money by falsehood. I can't eat their offerings. God will not accept that. And the bad sanskaras will come. He said to the Marwadis, you see, one can't strictly adhere to truth in business. Directly he's telling them. There are ups and downs in business. Nanak once said, the original guru of the Sikhs, he was also a trader. Nanak once said, I was about to eat the food of unholy people when I found it stained with blood. A man should offer only pure things to holy men. He shouldn't give them food earned by dishonest means. God is realized by following the path of truth. One should always chant his name. Even while one is performing one's duties, the mind should be left with God. Suppose I have a carbuncle on my back. I perform my duties, but the mind is drawn to the carbuncle. Example, it is good to repeat the name of Rama. Marwadi generally love Rama. The same Rama, who was the son of King Dasharatha, had created this world. Again, as spirit, he pervades all beings. He is very near us. He is both within and without. For that, there should be a Hindi couplet. Yes, it's important. Huh? वही राम दशरथ की बेटा, दशरथ का बेटा, वही राम घट घट में लेटा, वही राम जगत पसेरा, वही राम सबसे न्यारा. That Rama is the son of Dasharatha, incarnation. So he is born as a boy. He is born to some parents. But he is living in the hearts of all. That is his real nature. And that who is all pervading is beyond all. So, love of incarnation will lead to your realization that God is omnipresent, and that will lead you to realize that God is beyond everything. After this, we come to the chapter 7, giving the conversations of December 14. So, in the Bengali book, you will have to go back and find out this. This is that. We go back to page 113 in Bengali book. Here, we are taking after this 24th December week, because that was no date, so it was taken before. And now 14th December we are taking, which when the Bengali edition was made, they found out and that is put earlier, but we are following English. So now those who are holding Bengali or any other Indian language book must find out that now portion of 14th of December 1882 we are taking, and the heading of that chapter 7 is the master and Vijay Goswami. Now Vijay Goswami, what is special about Vijay Goswami? As his name suggests, he belonged to the Goswami family. Nityananda Goswami was the companion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And people from his lineage are called Goswami. And they are Chaitanya Bhaktas, they are Krishna Bhaktas. But when Vijay studied in Calcutta, he came across the Western thought that God is without form. And he thought this is true. And so he gave up connection with that Vaishnava people. He joined Brahma Samaj because Brahma Samaj tells us God is without form. And he loved Keshav. But when Keshav broke some of the rules made by himself, he deviated from Keshav. So he is a lover of truth as he understands. Now coming in touch with Sri Ramakrishna, his sanskaras of the Vaishnava religion came up on the surface. And he understood that God is both with forms and without forms. Special object of love is God with forms. And he was a paid preacher of the Brahma Samaj. But then he had to give up and he suffered financial loss. So throughout he was the lover of truth as he understood at that time. And so he was dear to Sri Ramakrishna. This is Vijay Goswami. And I think, though some time is left, we have read a lot of days today. So with this introduction, we keep this for Thursday. Tomorrow the university lecture. So Thursday we shall continue reading of chapter 7 in English book, in Bengali, chapter starting on page 113. ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कर्मशापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ते ये भूरिदा जना. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति. हरिः ॐ तत्सत्. श्रीरामकृष्णार्पणमस्तु.
Om